All right. Welcome, everybody. Hi. It is your weekly episode of What Would Cynthia Do? My weekly, let's get some fake applause in there. My weekly career advice live show. My name is Cynthia Pong. I'm a feminist career strategist who specializes in working with women of color. Hi, everyone. Tell me who's here in the chat, whether you're joining through LinkedIn or Instagram. Hey. Empower change. Welcome. Today we're talking about managing up because it's so important and nobody tells us how to do these things. We're just like thrown into a workplace a lot of times and it's like we're just expected to know how to interact with our bosses or supervisors who oftentimes, let's be honest, are challenging, shall we say. Okay, so let's do intros first. Let me know your name and pronouns, what you do if you want to share that, and one ask and one offer. As you know, I'm Cynthia Pong. I need some water right now. I'm so dehydrated. I don't know what's happening. Who do we have here? Hey, Tamara. Hi. Hey, Lucic. Welcome back. Tamara. Hello. I will share. Oh my God, Heather. Hi. Heather is here. So excited. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. My ask and my offer, as you all sort of think about what you want to put in the chat, is, this is both an ask and an offer. I don't know. If you want to tell your friends to tune in, the easiest way to do so on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern is through whatwouldcynthiado.com. Those of you who watch me, hey, Rhonda, everybody check out It's Simply Speech, the best public speaking coach ever, my friend Rhonda. And hi, Shigos, it's so great to see you. If you were watching like on the IG, you'd see me like frantically trying to set something up on the computer before we get started. And that's me trying to hook up the URL, What Would Cynthia Do, to the LinkedIn Live so that you're not like scrambling and searching in LinkedIn to try to figure out how can I join this live, which I know happens to a lot of folks. So whatwouldcynthiado.com. If you want to see past episodes, I have the full archives on my site at embracechange.nyc/resources. And if you on IG want to join and get the full experience with the slides I share and stuff, you can go to the second link in my bio and click on over to whatwouldcynthiado.com. Okay, the other thing I want to tell you all, and Heather, Lucic, Tamara, tell me how you're doing. Feel free to put your asks and your offers in there. I want to let you all know that in, oh my gosh, T-minus, I'm looking at my calendar, in like T-minus less than 3 weeks, I will be launching my crowdfunding campaign. So I'm really excited, also super nervous, but I'm also mostly excited to tell you about it. I'm going to be crowdfunding to launch a leadership accelerator program specifically for women of color in small cohorts. So drop your email at tinyurl.com/embracechange-crowdfund if you want to hear about that and all the exclusive rewards that I'll be giving to people, some of which will only be like one or a few in number. So put your email there and you'll hear all about my amazing crowdfunding campaign. Okay, that was too quiet. All right, let me know how you're doing in the chat. Drop 2 words to describe how you're feeling if you wish, if it's not too difficult. Hey, love Karen. Hi, good hair cards. Welcome, everybody. Let me know 2 words in the chat of how you're feeling, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling. And thank you, Lucic, for dropping an ask in the chat. Lucic says to follow her DEI consulting page on IG. Cool. Congrats on launching one. That's very awesome, Lucic. Very, very cool. At Gasparian, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, _EI_consulting. Lucic posts and talks about race, gender, and disability rights, including mental health. So everybody needs to go on over to IG and follow. Easier for you all who are over here. Tamara says, overwhelmed with work and life, too much happening all at once. And very interestingly, Tamara, you'll be happy to know, maybe if we like to commiserate together, over on IG, Love Karen has just said also overwhelmed and also grateful. I too feel overwhelmed. Maybe it's really just like the fact that we are this far into like a 1.5 years of pandemic. I don't know. There is always so much going on. And that's why, like, good job to all of you for even joining today. I know it's like a huge thing to take time out of your day and like be a part of something on a regular basis, which a lot of you folks on both sides have been. So yeah, I hope we can help with the overwhelm, at least with respect to giving you some tools today to deal with any nightmare bosses or supervisors that you might have. And also in general, just take an opportunity to like breathe, drink some water, stretch your body if you need to, if that helps. Yeah, keep me posted on how you feel too, Love Karen, because the overwhelm is stressful as fuck. All right, let's see. Heather, not sure if she hasn't asked, but is happy to connect. So that's definitely an offer in this space, and everyone can follow Heather and see how you all can help support each other. Lucic and Heather have already connected there. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Lucic. It is Mental Health Month, is also APA-HM. Okay, hold on. This, I feel like it's a long acronym, but let me get it all right. Asian American, Pacific Islander, also Daisy Heritage Month. So shout out to all my fellow Asian Americans of all ethnicities. We are not a monolith, and we're awesome. And it's our month. I mean, really, it should be our month every month. Like, it should be for anybody, all people of color. So yeah, liberation for everybody. Heather, feeling tired, just tired. Yeah, agree. I had my second COVID vaccination shot on Monday, and I have to say I've never been so tired in a long time. But now, this being the third day, I feel like I have a fucking new lease on life. Like, I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I feel like, you know how after you're maybe sick for a while, like sometimes maybe this happens to some of us, like we're sick for a long time, everything is just really tough and terrible, and then once you start to get better, you get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like just a rush of like relief and hope and new lease on life feeling. And it makes me really feel also for folks who struggle with any type of chronic illness or chronic pain. It's just fucking awful. And I don't know, just hats off to anyone who is living in that state, because like times when I'm sick, it makes me a little more empathetic, and I wish I could remember that all the time. So that's a point of growth for me. Lucic says, overwhelmed as a neurodivergent woman. Yeah. And thanks for defining neurodiversity. Disabilities that have to do with the brain. Yeah, we live in a world that is very much built for like certain types of people. And in a lot of ways, I fall squarely within that box. I have to say, and in some ways I obviously don't. Hi, Mina, Simone, and Lisa 8. Welcome to What Would Cynthia Do? Back over here to the LinkedIn side. Heather says the COVID shot experience is so much. My first was actually worse than second, but definitely had some fatigue. Yeah, I feel like my second was definitely worse than the first, but overall, I had very little trouble. So I feel very grateful, like Love Karen, that I did all right with it. So just trying to power through. And yeah, so pretty much, I think keep dropping your thoughts and stuff in the chat, folks, on both sides. But we are going to talk about how to manage up today. That's our topic of the week, and how to do so successfully. Maybe goes without saying. So drop any questions or comments you have for me in the chat. I am going to share screen in a moment, but put your stuff in the chat. We'll come back to it. And before I start, though, because this is a good topic. I once heard, like, the first time I started working on creating a talk around this topic, the person who asked me to create the talk was like, look, we all know people don't leave jobs, they leave bad bosses. And I was like, oh, that's so true. That really resonates. And so we have to figure out from both sides, right? There's absolutely work to be done on both sides, like arguably more to be done on like the boss supervisor side, to get those folks work on their leadership skills. But I also appreciate that a lot of us are, still trying to manage up. So I want to share my thoughts and ideas around skills around that. So yeah, and Tamara, that I think that resonates with Tamara over here about like people leaving bad jobs. So 2 misconceptions I want to what's the right word? Bust? I don't know. It's not the right term before we get into it. But one is a lot of people, especially a lot of clients I work with, people who I talk to who are women of color largely, we think that our work speaks for itself. Tell me, give me a yes in the chat if you have ever thought that. Like, I'm just gonna, you know, put my nose to the grindstone or whatever that phrase is and like work really hard, and then my work is gonna speak for itself and I'm gonna get praise and rewards and promotions and a better title and more money from my boss, right? So yes, I want to say that, yeah, Lucic, I don't know a way to deal with that. So like, I don't have a way to like delete that or do anything about that, Lucic, from this very point. So I do want to say though, that this is like, to the extent that I can try to create like a safe space, like inappropriate comments, like we don't do this here. So I'm gonna ask anyone who is not here to like learn about career and professional advice from a position that's like affirming to people of all genders and not, oh my gosh, not like, yeah, I'm going to ask that person to like, please stop commenting in the chat. Those kind of comments are really not what this space is for. So if anyone who's joining from the LinkedIn side can like do anything to remove those comments, I don't know, but I don't have the power right now. So I'm going to continue. As Heather said, that she really thought you could just put your nose down and like keep working, and then people would just recognize you for everything that you're doing. And then Tamara has said, yeah, thought that in the past, but you have to play the game. So that's another way to say that like what I was trying to say with like busting this myth of like your work will speak for itself is no, you actually have to speak for your work like continually. And that brings me to the second myth that I want to bust, which is that the only time you need to manage up is to speak to your advisor or your supervisor or your manager or whoever it is who's doing your like annual review like once a year, to speak to that person and then be like, this is everything I've done in the past year, like, and now I would like to ask for a raise or a promotion or whatever it is. You cannot it's not a one and done. It's not like only limited to this one time of year. In fact, if you are only trying to manage up at that point, it's way too late. You really need to be like at that point looking forward and trying to manage from there. And thanks to Lucic and other LinkedIn user for handling that. I really appreciate it, and I will loop back after we're not live to talk about this more. Okay, so those are 2 myths I want to bust. The thing you need to remember is 1, you need to speak for your work. It doesn't speak for itself. And 2, you have to manage up continually. So I'm going to share screen now, and I'm going to lose sight of the chat. So I'm asking folks on the LinkedIn side to keep an eye out for me, please. Okay, so let me share these slides about managing. Oh, God. There we go. Managing up, the art and science thereof. So the first thing is to level set. This is what managing up is, in my opinion. It is building a healthy, workable relationship with your boss for everyone's benefit. So that last part about for everyone's benefit, I kind of tacked on because I think it's important for us to realize that this, as with a lot of things, when you advocate for yourself as a woman of color, like you're not only advocating for yourself, you are laying the groundwork for your peers. You are paving the way for women of color who come after you. You're raising the bar for everybody. And so that's really important, number 1. Number 2, it also helps to Tamara's points about playing the game. Like when you do use stereotype bias to your benefit, meaning you understand how people read you as the person that you are, and then you might sometimes strategically choose to play into those stereotypes in order to get what you want. So it's always a personal choice. It's always a call that you have to make or not make at any given time. But couching the managing up stuff in terms of, oh, this will help the team, this will help the mission, this will help the organization, could often help, because as women, we are expected to be communal. We are expected to put everybody else before ourselves and to take care of everybody else and like put their needs ahead of ours. So sometimes in order to actually advocate for ourselves effectively and get what we want, we have to frame it in that way for other people to hear us and give us what we want. Okay, now that we have level set with the definition, what I was saying was like, you can't just do, this is not a one and done. You have to do this continually. So the first step to like managing up well is making sure that you have regular recurring check-in meetings with your boss or your supervisor. I usually recommend a frequency of like somewhere between weekly and monthly. I know a lot of folks have like standing weekly meetings already. So like, that's great. I'll show you a way to use your own structure to use those to your advantage for the purposes of managing up. I wouldn't go any less frequently than monthly, because then things just drag on, people forget. Like, it's better to just keep them a little bit tighter. So choose a frequency between every week and every month, to the extent that you can do that. So if anyone has like questions about like how to do that part, I can dive in a little deeper, but I'm going to also give you step 2, which I think is really crucial. So the second step to this is to use this 3-part agenda that I'm going to give you, that I learned from Erin Grau, who used to be the VP of Transformation at the New York Times. And for some of you on LinkedIn, like this bottom part of my slide might be blocked, but that's where the attribution is to Erin for coming up with this 3-part agenda. So the first part is you talk about the past. All right, this is what I've done well, essentially. So if you're meeting every other week, let's say, it's like, okay, this is what I've been doing the past 2 weeks. This is what's been going really well. Here, you are speaking for your work, right? To tie it back to what I said earlier. Part 2 is the present. So you just talked about the past. Now you're going to move people to the present. It's very easy to remember. And you're like, this is what I'm interested in doing now. This is what I'm passionate about now. Once you have done that, both the past and the present, you're going to move your supervisor to the future. So this next 2 weeks or this next stretch of time, like that length of time is going to depend on what like your specific goals are and stuff. But in the future, you say, you know, this is where I want to grow and contribute moving forward. What should I do to get there? Right? So this, what should I do to get there? You can also rephrase it to like, what do you think? Like, how do you think I can best get there? Using a lot of what and how questions is a really good negotiation strategy that you can do here, which will get your boss and supervisor brainstorming with you to help you move towards success. It also makes them specifically invested in your success. Because like when you get people to brainstorm with you, they like naturally just get interested in like making sure that what they said to you, you know, did it work or not work? Like, how can they help you tweak and iterate your plan? Like, it just, most people will just become more invested once you've asked their opinion. So here, one more like little tidbit is, I think about this, what should I do to get there? This soliciting advice as exactly that, asking for their advice. And I know it feels a little like maybe paternalistic sometimes, but there's a reason for this too. A lot of people think, oh, I want to ask for your feedback. So that can be fine. And essentially what they're going to tell you is their feedback, but calling it feedback tends to make people think, especially if this is like a manager, supervisor, boss, direct report relationship, it makes people think very in the box. So like, oh, like you're a 3 out of 5 on this, or like you're an exceeds expectations on that. Like it keeps people's thinking a little bit, I think, in the box. So here you want to be a little more expansive, and that's why asking for advice, I feel like, is a better, more holistic way to find out what someone really thinks. Okay, let me check in on the IG side. Welcome, everybody. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions to everyone who's joined. Thank you for coming. But yeah, this is the 3-part strategy that I recommend for managing up successfully. You take them through this agenda during your recurring meetings with them. You talk about the past, you move them to the present, and then you talk about the future. Okay, let me see if, yeah, that was pretty much the slides I had prepared for today. Let me see how things are going in the chat. Let's see. Thank you everyone for reporting earlier. And yes, thank you, Aza. You're so welcome for this topic. I was really struggling for topics and I was like, well, I could always talk about managing up some more. Yes, okay, good point, Lucic, to write up notes and send them after the meeting. So this is a really, really good tip. I'm glad you brought it up. And I think all of my friends in HR and people ops and stuff say this too, like memorialize everything. Also, I used to be a lawyer, you know, make that record. So sometimes I will say that people have the right instinct, especially women of color, to like put things in an email so that there is a paper trail. Some things you want to do that with and some things you don't. Certainly with this, like I would send the email after you've had the conversation, not like sending like your stuff and what you would be sharing in the meeting like ahead of time. Like I don't think you need to do that. I think it's better where you have the actual conversation in person in real time. Sorry, like by Zoom is fine. I would consider that in person now. But yeah, you can have the Zoom meeting or whatever it is, go through the stuff. You don't need to preview it for the person, but then afterwards you can be like, thank you so much for this meeting, Lucic. This is what we talked about. Like, so we have notes for next time. This is what I'm going to be working on. See you in 2 weeks. You know, like you could do that. And then you have made the record, but after you've already had the ability to finesse a conversation as it's actively happening. That's right. They can't ever say that you said something different. Right. So, you know, that's the idea. If what you put in the email was not actually what happened, you would expect the other person to like then correct the record. But if they don't, you know, then you have what it is right there. And if they do try to pull some stuff over the email, I mean, you could handle that any number of ways after. Yeah, hashtag make that record. Good. Okay, so what do you all think about the 3-part agenda? Had you heard of that before? Were you already doing a version of that? Like, I want to know. And also, if you have other questions, because this is just like the basic fundamentals of like managing up. This is a small piece of like a much larger workshop I do on this topic. So let me know what your thoughts and questions are. And I'm going to check in on this side too. Hey, Queen Bucky, I was going to... thank you for your topic suggestion from previously. I'm going to run that one by my 2 colleagues for a future episode of the conversation. So, but I did think about maybe just using it for today's topic. And I was like, no, let me save that one for another episode of the conversation. Okay, so Tamar says, hadn't heard of that agenda before. Yeah, do you think you want to like try it out ever? Or, you know, you could also use it in other contexts too, I feel like. Somebody says how to move a manager team out of a place of complacency or a survival state when it comes to processes and what they're doing currently into a state of optimization and improvement. Oh, okay. So this one's hard. This one's really hard. I'm thinking, and I'm like projecting onto your question, right? So I don't know if this is a situation, but I could imagine it being either in a nonprofit or a startup scenario where like, you know, you're in this survival state, like everyone's wearing a bunch of different hats. You're just trying to get everything done. Like we're not looking for perfect. We're really just looking for like something slapped together so we can move on to the next thing. And into another stage. Change management is very hard. I will say that off the bat. And so, oh my God, this is like a bigger negotiation question, I would say. But if I could think of like 1 or 2 little tidbits, what would I say? One thing that you could do is like have conversations with, I guess, whoever like a decision maker would be on this. Like, you know, culture, a lot of times people say culture in an org is like top down. Like if the leader adopts a certain type of approach or tone, like it trickles down or whatever. I would say if you could like talk to that person or somebody who has that person's ear and be like, you know, it really seems like, or it sounds like a lot of what we do is still we're working out of this like survival state and complacency mindset. And, you know, when I look at our organization, I could see us doing so much more in the way of XYZ, like the optimization improvement stuff. Like, you know, so it's wondering like, what your thoughts are on that. You know, like you could just open it up with a very like non-judgmental tone, you know, not seem like you're pushing too much of an agenda, but like do a toe in the water type of thing. And I started it with the it seems like, it sounds like, because that's a negotiation tactic I often suggest people to use. It's from the book, Never Split the Difference. And what you do there is you take both of you out of the conversation. It's a neutral observation statement. So you're putting a hypothesis out there. It seems like X. It sounds like Y. You're not saying, oh, it looks like you're in this survival state mentality and it's really not good for the organization at this stage, right? It's not accusatory. It doesn't make anyone feel defensive. You are literally throwing like out an observation out there, and the other person has a chance to correct the record. So they could be like, no, it's not that, it's actually this, which is a win, because now you know really what they think, whether it's true or not. You know where their mind is at. And if they confirm, then it's also a win, because they're like, oh, you know, and I'm sorry, LinkedIn's not telling me your name, but it's like, hey, you know, so-and-so like really is right on the money with that. Like they have a little light bulb aha moment and they attribute it to you. So that's what I would say to kick off the conversation. But this right here, that's a long-term project. And you may need to basically do some internal organizing within the org to like build up to a tipping point where you can shift that culture. Big challenge. Okay. Heather says, I love the 3-part agenda. It feels less braggy than just talking about achievements, since it's within the context of past, of present, and future. Yeah. And, you know, I will say that it's a very common thing to feel from like a lot of women of color and people of color, that like, oh, if I talk about my work, people are going to think that I'm like so full of myself and all this stuff. And yes, because we have been trained and socialized and conditioned that way in white supremacy culture, rather than just like going into a corner, like working hard, not being seen or heard, and being super humble and whatever. So I hear that 100%. And yes, one thing I'll add for you, Heather, is like, it's not bragging if you're literally just stating the facts. Where's my, yeah, that's probably the wrong sound effect, but it's all I could do at that moment. Thanks. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Luzik. That was a real challenging moment. So thank you for, helping me. That was very valuable. Tamara says, the agenda will definitely keep the check-in meetings focused. I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, who right now is like, I can't take another meeting, right? Like a lot of people I talk to are in meetings all the day, like 9 to 5. It's like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. It's not only the Zoom fatigue, but like you then have no time to actually do the things that you're supposed to be doing. It's a lot. So if you use this agenda, you start training your supervisor how to treat you, how to be a good boss, manager, supervisor to you. It'll help keep everything tight and efficient. And then you both have this routine. You're really doing them a huge favor, to be honest, you know, beyond all the like excellent work you're doing for them. All right. So we're pretty much at time, but drop any last minute questions you have in here. Hi, Grace Junkie, DP Image Solutions. Leah, hey, everybody. Leah Coaching from my team, who's a financial wellness and wealth building coach and expert, is going to be going live actually on my IG channel account tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So tune back in for that. That's going to be so fun. Thanks, Queen Bucky. Maribel runs. I am so bad at reading handles. Adam D. Zube. Thank you all for coming. Let's see. Heather says, okay, sad. I have to join. Yes, that's right. Another meeting, right? Thank you so much for coming, Heather. Thank you all for attending. Next week, we'll be back on May 12th, 2 p.m. Eastern. Put it in your calendar if you need a reminder. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start playing this out here. Hold on. I have so many. Okay. So many devices. If you could literally see my setup, it's bonkers over here. There's like so many things. But thank you so much, Tamara, Lucic. Seriously, thank you. Heather, our friend here, whose name I don't know. Sorry about that. Or rather, thank you for understanding that sometimes I don't get all of your names. Who else was here? I think, I know I'm missing somebody on the LinkedIn side, but, oh, here we go. Elena. Thank you, Elena. Aza, there we go. There's a whole chunk of you that I skipped right over. Thank you all for joining. See you next time. Tell your friends and they can come join us too. And over here, thank you, 718 Bookworm, BCA and the CEO, Sierra Kite Rate. Thank you so much. You're like the best IG friend. I need to send you a DM so we talk. Ms. Lash, Asia Marsh, also another financial genius. Aki, hi, Linden Movement Lab. I did it for the money. Tracy's Truth. Lisa, 3. Oh, maybe that was Azza who hopped on over. I'm not sure. 3ZZA, 3 Abdullah, I think. Yeah, that must be what's happening there. Nina Simone, Love Karen. I hope you're feeling a little less overwhelmed. Almay Soul. Good hair cards. Rhonda, of course, it's Simply Speech. She glows. And Power Change. Thank you all for coming. You can watch the replay, Grace Junkie. I'm gonna post it on my IGTV in a moment, and the full, like, you can see the LinkedIn Live version if you go to whatwouldcynthiado.com, which is my second link in bio on my IG. That would be the easiest way to catch the whole replay. Thank you, Tracy. You're the best. Thank you, 718 Bookworm. Yes, also love a fellow bookworm. Yeah, just I've been such a book backlog right now, but I hope to get out of it soon. All right, I'll let you all go. Bye.